Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 FNC Concussion and Brain Recovery Summit. I am Dr. Mischel, and in this session, we are going to be talking about pediatric concussions. So, why is pediatric concussion different from concussions that occur in adults? Concussions in children aren't just simply a smaller version of what we see in adults because a child's developing brain is in a rapid state of growth. They have incomplete myelination, their neural networks are evolving, and they have sensitive hormonal systems as well. So, this combination creates a very incredible potential for them to grow and develop and adapt and have neuroplasticity, but it's also going to increase their vulnerability to disruption of those systems as well. So, when a child sustains a concussion, these consequences are going to ripple across multiple different domains, including school, sports, family life, and social development as well. And instead of describing brain fog or vestibular mismatches or dizziness, a lot of times kids are just going to present with irritability, clumsiness or stumbling, fatigue, or declining grades. And these signs are what make concussion more difficult to identify because they're not always as bold or kids aren't able to put it into words as much as adults are. And so this demands a more careful and specific rehabilitation approach. Concussion remains one of the most common injuries in childhood. Football, soccer, hockey, and cheerleading are, of course, at the top of the list. But playground and bicycle accidents and just having fun and playing outside with friends are just as common and just as important. The CDC estimates that millions of children experience concussions each year, and a lot of them go undiagnosed. And so, what makes this really concerning is that children often take longer to recover than adults, and cumulative concussions can affect long term brain health, academic performance, and emotional regulation as well. The important piece of this is that return to learn comes before return to play. The first priority is not going to be athletics, even though all of our children that are participating in sports are going to probably think that the athletic piece is more important and should be the priority. However, it is not. Academics is. And that is going to be one of the most important advances over the last decade is that development of the return to learn protocol. This process begins with short periods of relative rest, focused on sleep, nutrition, and minimizing screen exposure. Light cognitive activity is then going to be reintroduced at home, and then that's going to be followed by partial school days with academic accommodations, such as reduced workload and frequent breaks, decreased screen time, that sort of thing. Only when a child is fully reintegrated into the classroom and they are symptom free with normal cognitive tolerance should we begin that return to play protocol. In 2025, technology has made this process easier. We now have digital platforms that allow parents, teachers, clinicians, etc., to coordinate academic load in real time, ensuring that the children are avoiding that overload and crash cycle that commonly happen previously to this. For young adults, the stakes of premature return to play are high, and second impact syndrome remains rare but is devastating. And research has shown that repeated concussions in youth athletes increase the risk of later life cognitive and emotional issues. Return to play in pediatrics is therefore going to be more of that conservative approach as we want to avoid second impact syndrome by all means. And that standard stepwise progression moves from symptom-free rest to light aerobic activity. Then we move into non-contact drills and then into a controlled practice and then finally into full game clearance. Importantly, many states are now requiring that only clinicians specifically trained in concussion management can make these clearance decisions. So, at the Functional Neurology Center, pediatric concussion care is built around an integrative rehabilitation model that considers the child's unique physiology because every kid is going to be different and every injury is different. That being said, vestibular rehabilitation is going to be a very vital piece of this puzzle because that is commonly seen with concussion. And so we're going to do things like dynamic balance retraining, gaze stability drills, and graded sensory integration exercises that are going to be adapted for the children's tolerance and often are delivered in playful or gamified formats because we want it to be fun, we want it to be enjoyable. Kids aren't going to want to do the rehab if it's not going to be fun, right? So that's going to be an important piece of that as well, is making it fun and engaging for them. Oculomotor rehabilitation is essential as well, so using tools like the Brock string, Maddox rod, and other digital eye tracking activities are going to help restore that normal visual vestibular function. Cervical spine evaluation and care are just as important, especially considering that a lot of concussions commonly occur with whiplash as well. And so, gentle chiropractic care, proprioceptive training, and cervical stabilization drills are going to help restore that proper afferent input from the neck into the balance system. Autonomic regulation is a huge piece as well. Many children are developing orthostatic intolerance or POTS like symptoms after a concussion. And so, using things like heart rate variability training, vagus nerve resets, and gentle tilt or graded exercise protocols can help patients regain that physiologic resilience. Lastly, family education is also very important. Parents need to know how important it is for sleep, hydration, nutrition, and pacing to be um, very much so monitored and addressed because these are very important in influencing recovery times as well. Technology is definitely changing the way that we approach pediatric concussion. Virtual reality rehabilitation has become child friendly with adaptive gamified environments that improve adherence and motivation. Again, that piece of making it fun for kids is going to be really, really important in getting them to actually do the work. And having that fun piece to it as well actually helps them to recover quicker too. Eye tracking systems such as ReadyTrack provide objective metrics for saccades, pursuits, and fixation. And they now have wearable devices that can track sleep quality, exertion, and heart rate variability, which is giving clinicians and families real time biofeedback. School apps are integrating academic load with clinical recommendations, which helps ensure that return to learn and return to play remain synchronized. These tools are going to make pediatric concussion care more precise, more collaborative, and more objective than ever before. Despite these advances, we still have challenges that persist. Emotional overlay is common. Children may feel isolated from peers, anxious about falling behind, or depressed when they can't participate in sports. Access remains uneven, and with families that are unable to reach specialized concussion clinics. And long term monitoring is still inadequate, even though repeated concussions in childhood clearly increase the risk of persistent symptoms and later life neurological complications. Recent research has provided important insights into how the developing brain responds to injury. Advanced imaging studies, including DTI, have revealed microstructural white matter changes in children long after symptoms resolve. Functional MRI studies show altered connectivity in attention and executive networks, helping explain why concentration and learning often suffer even after kids are being given the all clear. And MRS has uncovered persistent metabolic abnormalities, highlighting the vulnerability of pediatric brain to energy crises after injury. There's also growing interest in safe neuromodulation strategies for children. Early trials of low level laser therapy, transcranial PEMF, and non invasive vagus nerve stimulation suggest these may have a role in reducing inflammation and supporting recovery, though research is still cautious and preliminary. Together, these findings reinforce a critical point. Symptom resolution does not always mean physiologic recovery. The pediatric brain often continues to heal long after the visible signs of concussion fade. In 2025, pediatric concussion care is more advanced than ever, but return to learn is prioritized before return to play. Technology allows objective monitoring, and rehabilitation is more comprehensive, integrating vestibular, ocular, cervical, autonomic, and cognitive domains. But the guiding principle remains the same. Children are not just small adults, they require more conservative protocols, more patient timelines, and more vigilant long term monitoring. Their brains are both vulnerable and adaptable, and our responsibility is to provide the care that allows them to recover fully while protecting their neurologic future. Thank you for tuning into this episode, and we will see you at the next one.